Kırım Tatar soykırımının 79. yıl dönümünde Ukrayna Büyükelçisi Sayın Vasyl Bodnar TamgaTürk'ün konuğu oldu. Sayın Bodnar, hoş geldiniz. Öncelikle 18 Mayıs 1944 Kırım Tatar Sürgünü'ne ilişkin görüşlerinizi alabilir miyiz?
78 years ago, there was a big crime happened and organized by Stalin and his regime against Crimean Tatar people, and it was clear genocide with the aim to demolish the whole nation from their motherland. And we should recognize it correctly. Ukrainian state recognized it as a genocide, and we believe that the whole world should follow this example. In particular, our Turkish friends could also work on the recognition it's as a crime and also as a genocide as well, because a lot of Crimean Tatars ancestors are living here now in Turkey, maybe more even than in Ukraine, if we calculate all around the Turkey and all the cities. And we need to restore this memory. We need to say to the people the truth, and it is also necessary for restoring the rights of Crimean Tatarian people on their motherland in Crimea, in particular after the liberation of this territory by Ukrainian armed forces.
Geçen yıl 18 Mayıs'ta Ukrayna Büyükelçiliğine Kırım Tatar bayrağı asmıştınız. Bu yıl yine asacak mısınız ve bu bir gelenek haline gelecek mi?
It's already became a tradition for a couple of years, and tomorrow we will hang over a Crimean Tatarian flag, and as well we will do it on the day of Crimean Tatarian flag in end of this month. So for us, it's also the one of the identification for our people, Crimean Tatars, who are the part of Ukrainian political nation, and also those who are fighting together with us against the Russian invaders.
2014 yılındaki işgalden önce Ukrayna ve Kırım Tatarları arasındaki ilişkiler nasıldı?
Before 2014, the world was different, and the perception of the relationship was also different. There were some pluses and minuses. From pluses, we could say that it was the Ukrainian state who allowed the Crimean Tatars to turn back home, who also helped them somehow to establish there, but for sure it was not enough for creating a solid ground and defending their rights in full scale, and also it doesn't prevent the Russians to invade, and for sure Ukrainian state should at that time defend both their sovereignty in Crimea and rights of Crimean Tatarian people living in their motherland. But everything changed with the occupation of Crimea, and now Crimean Tatarian people are suffering from this occupation. A lot of leaders and ordinary people are being jailed and now being political prisoners, and the Ukrainian state actually changed its attitude towards Crimean Tatars and towards all the nations who are suppressed by the Russian state, and now we are doing well in supporting the Crimean Tatar people and also in cooperating very close in defending the rights and also working together for the future.
2014 yılındaki işgal sonrasında Kırım Tatarları ve Ukrayna devleti arasındaki ilişkiler nasıl değişti ve gelişti?
It was a very tragic story in 2014. So Russian occupation, it's like a repetition of the crime which was conducted in 1944. It's like the same kind of suppression of the rights, as well as attempt to erase the memory and to establish the Russian rules. So for Ukraine, it's essential to provide all necessary rights for Crimean Tatarians. And in particular, after the 2014, we start to work closely on different dimensions. First of all, it was about the recognitions of the rights of Crimean Tatarian people, and it was the law established the rights of indigenous people, which also provides the necessary ground for self-determination of Crimean Tatarians within Ukrainian legislation, and there is still a lot of floor for that, for this improvement, in particular after the liberation of motherland, of territory, and liberation of people from the pressure of occupation. Secondly, it was fight for the rights of those who are under the occupation and those who were in jail or were suppressed by Russian occupants. Third dimension, it was also working together on strengthening the institutions, and today a lot of Crimean Tatars are occupying the leading positions in Ukrainian authorities. So we now, for example, Rustem Umerov, he is now the chief of State Fund of Ukraine. We have my colleague, for example, Emine Japar, she's the first deputy minister, and a lot of Crimean Tatars are now in the different branches of local and central authorities. It means that also participating in creating new Ukraine, in creating Ukraine more democratic, more prosperous, where all nations have its floor for development, and also We are also doing a lot for commemoration of both the Genocide Day, the deportation of Crimean Tatar people, and as well as promoting culture. Plus, we also have been working closely on peaceful turning back Crimea to Ukraine. It's a Crimean platform, which is the political mean of creating pressure on the occupant forces, on Russia, to and attract international attentions. And a lot of things happening together here in Turkey, because we are working closely with Central Dernek, Crimean Tatar Dernek. We are also frequently visiting Derneks in the regions, in particular Eskişehir, Konya, and different other cities. So we are also working closely between our diasporas. Ukrainian community is also in close touch with the Derneks of Crimean Tatarians, of Crimean Turks, which are well established in Turkey, and also not only commemorating but also celebration is also very important. Such celebrations like Depresh and other well-known Crimean Tatar holidays also became part of Ukrainian tradition now. As well, we could take into account the recent Iftar, which was first time organized by President of Ukraine and together with Mustafa Dzhemilev together in Ukraine, which was the beginning of new tradition. Plus, if you could recall the official documents related to the celebration of Muslim holidays, which have never been before in Ukrainian history, and now it became also a state holiday in Ukraine and is celebrated on the same level as other holidays among Ukrainian population.
2022 yılında Rusya'nın Ukrayna'nın geneline yönelik başlattığı saldırı sonrasındaki savaş sürecini nasıl değerlendiriyorsunuz? Savaş şu an nasıl ilerliyor? Ayrıca bu soruyu birleşik sorayım. Kırım Tatarlarının bu savaşta yer aldığını ve aktif bir şekilde savaştığını da görüyoruz. Buna dair yorumunuz nedir?
Originally saying the war started in 2014 just in Crimea. It was the occupation maybe not so bloodless as today, but the war started there, and as our president said, it started in Crimea and should end in Crimea. It means to liberate and pull out Russian forces from Crimea and establish some democratic rules on the territory of Crimea and free possibilities for all the nations who are living there, in particular for Crimean Tatarians. So the war actually is a war of independence, and for us, we could compare it with the war which took place 100 years ago in Turkey, when Turkish nation under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk had been fighting against the superior forces of a number of nations which have been trying to divide Turkey. Today we also have similar situation in Ukraine, when superior Russian forces, nuclear state, is trying to occupy our territory of Ukraine. And we, together with Ukrainians, all nations who are living in Ukraine, and particularly Crimean Tatarians, took the weapons and stand for defense of their motherland, because we have no way out except of defending our land and pushing occupiers back from our territory. And it is not only about the territories, but it's also about people. It's also about values and about the future, because if the situation will go differently, so we would have no future as an independent state. That's clear for all Ukrainians who are today fighting or working for the victory. And particular role in this defense is playing by the Crimean Tatarians, who already joined Ukrainian armed forces in different formations. We believe that they will be among the first who will enter Crimea and liberate it from Russian occupiers and liberate their nation, which is under the suppression of Russian forces. So we could say that we are brothers in arms. We are fighting shoulder in shoulder, and we believe in our victory together. We will enjoy together the freedom which we will gain together.
Kırım Tatarlarının milli lideri Mustafa Abdülcemil Kırımoğlu ve Ukrayna Devlet Başkanı Volodymyr Zelenski arasındaki ilişkileri nasıl değerlendiriyorsunuz?
From the very beginning of career, Volodymyr Zelensky as president of Ukraine, it was established very good cooperation on the level of direct communication between Crimean Tatarian community and Mustafa Ha. He is the leader of Crimean Tatarians. Despite of the political distinctions, because they are belonging to different political forces, they have a dialogue, they establish very good cooperation, and they have been organizing frequent meetings together, discussing what to do and how to cooperate together. if we have also visit of President Erdogan or President Zelensky to Turkey, we have also participation of Mustafa Aha, and that is also very important that Mustafa Aha is also communicating closely with the Turkish authorities, Turkish society, and recently he was granted this high-level decorations here in the university, also saying that Mustafa is the high moral person for Ukraine, for Turkey, but also for the whole world, because he is well-known human rights defender. He is a fighter for the rights of Crimean Tatarian people, and he is also fighting for Ukraine. It's also his input into the Ukrainian defense. It's very strong, and despite of the age, despite of all these political issues which actually exist because it's a democracy, but the strong conviction in the victory of Ukraine and strong support of Crimean Tatars who are fighting for the victory and for Ukrainian information is very visible, and also the advocacy which is being done on the political level. It is also coordinating with the President Zelensky, with presidential office, with government of Ukraine. It shows how we are working in synergy and how common aims, which is put by ourselves together, we elaborate them together, and we are working on them to achieve them. And we believe that also after the liberation of Crimea, we will also establish certain aims to achieve for reconstruction of Crimea, for creating it from this so-called military base which Russia turned Crimea to be, for recreation zone, for zone on investments, for zone on prosperity. And also here the Turkish participation is also very essential in helping this land to be prosperous and attracting more free people for us, not for fight of contradictions.
Kırım özgür olduğunda, savaş sonrasında Kırım Tatarlarının durumu ne olacak?
So legal ground we already formed. There is a specific rights granted by the law, which was created by Ukrainian parliament. And Crimean Tatarian people have already granted this specific status within Ukrainian state. So for sure there will be a full rights of developing traditions, culture, and also self-determination within Ukrainian legislation in these territories. So still we have this autonomous status which could be also implemented to the rights of Crimean Tatarians inside Crimea. So we believe that the free Ukraine and democratic Ukraine will be the best place for development of the self-determination and creating opportunities for being a democratic society and democratically develop self-governance there inside Ukraine.
Bu soruyu Kırım'a dair konuştuğumuz herkese soruyoruz. Son sorumuz. Kırım özgür olduğunda Kırım'da kahve içecek miyiz?
Evet. we are also communicating with some people from Crimea already, and when they see some victories on the front line, they are already drinking this so-called celebration coffee or coffee for greetings, which is also some specific message of keeping strong together and believing in best. So for sure we'll do it because coffee is also becoming a part of Ukrainian tradition as well. And a number of restaurants in Kyiv and in different other cities of Crimean descent also make it popular of Crimean kitchen, not only in Crimea as we traditionally used to, but also around Ukraine. So it's already part of Ukrainian tradition and culture, and we are only getting from these varieties. So we will come for sure and we will drink in Akmasjid together the coffee in the best restaurant there.
Yanıtlarınız için çok teşekkür ederiz. Kırım özgür olduğunda bir daha umarım orada görüşürüz.
Maybe one additional message, I just forgot to say that we have also the program of so-called diaspora kimlik. And despite of all the turmoil, we still granting and issuing this diaspora kimlik for Crimean Tatarians, who actually we believe that part of foreign Ukrainians in general in terms of the existing legislation, which might allow to the Turkish citizens of Crimean descent also to come freely to Ukraine and to visit their ancestors, their relatives, create businesses, etc. So it's also the message for those who already well established here, but still belong by their soul to Crimea and would like to continue this cooperation. So we are granting this possibility, and I believe that is also one of the ways how to develop stronger ties between Ukraine and Turkey, engaging Crimea as a close bridge and close relationship based on common heritage, common interest and common future.
Thank you.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!